We moved me from $200,000-$300,000 a year to several $1 million a year. And then when he sold that business, I went off on my own and built another multi-million-dollar business where I made millions a year until we sold that company. Okay, welcome to Inside Out. I'm your host, James Catledge, and today it's just going to be you and I. We're going to have a conversation. Many of you know this, but I coach several dozen people on success. I have a success coaching business called Inside Out Coaching. And one of the common questions that always comes up with my coaching clients is, how do you go from $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year to several million a year? What's the shift? What has to happen? Is it luck? Is it the opportunity needs to change? Is it a mindset shift? What is it? And so this ends up being a lot of the focus of the coaching. And I can tell you, you can rule out luck. Luck has very little to do with sometimes timing, of a market can affect, and you could call that luck, but I think smart people put themselves in a position to max out timing. So I think you should take luck off the table because you can't control it. I really want you to zero in on the things you can control. But one thing that I've discovered and know to be true, and I just want to share it with you, is that the universe seems to bend in our favor when we have certainty. And the phrase I like to use a lot is, the universe bends toward certainty. And you've probably heard the law of attraction. You've probably even watched shows about the law of attraction. That this is what we're talking about. A certain mind begins to have the universe working in your favor. And what I mean by certainty is a level of focus which you may not have experienced yet. A certain mind can't be talked out of it. A certain mind can't be persuaded differently. A certain mind is so focused that when they wake up, they're consumed by it. When they go to sleep, they're consumed by it. They even dream about it. Certainty is what most folks never quite get to. I want to share with you a story that happened early in my career. I was in my 20s. In this story, everybody's story is going to be a little different, but this is one that confirmed for me how important certainty was in my life. I've always been a person that's somewhat focused. Like if you interview any of my friends, any of the people who work with me, they will say, he's focused. Focus is one of my attributes. And I think that helps reach these higher levels of success. So I'm in my 20s. I think I'm 24 years of age. I'm in the financial services business. I go out and get all these licenses that are required. I'm not a great test taker, but to be in this business requires you to take these exams as many times as necessary to get the licenses. So I get all the licenses. I'm already in financial services when I get recruited by a friend that I really look up to. This guy's name was Scott Childress. And although I'm focused in my 20s and I'm really determined to succeed, I'm only making $250,000, $300,000. And this is back 1994, 93, 94. And so that's a lot of money to a 20-year-old. But it's not that next level that a lot of my coaching clients want to get to. It's certainly not that next level. And so I knew I had to begin to associate with people that were at that next level. My reference group had to be bigger. And so Scott Childress recruits me into a business called World Marketing Alliance. At the time, it was a startup financial services firm. Today, it's the largest financial services marketing company in America. It's called World Financial Group. And that's the company that I was recruited into many, many years ago. So I realize I'm now kind of a small fish in a very big pond. And that, in a way, challenged me. It made me understand that my $200,000-$300,000 was small time, and that I needed to grow to have significance in that new environment. So I got a office lease. Again, I'm in my 20s. I hire a receptionist. So I've got, when you lease an office, you have to decide, am I going to be small or am I going to make room for my growth? And so I took over a former law firm. So I've got like 5 offices. There's a bullpen to sit where I guess the paralegals probably sit. There's a bathroom, a big reception lobby area, all in this office space. And I remember my wife, my new wife, we've probably been married a year and a half. She comes to see this new office. I want to kind of show off my wife. I want her to see this place. She says, "What in the world are you going to do with all this space?" I said, "Babe, we're going to fill it up." I'm gonna fill this place up. I'm gonna have people working for me, and psychologically, this was just a hope. It was there was not a plan yet for this. This was just like I'm gonna do this, right? And I can't even say I'm certain yet, right? There's no certainty yet. Well, I'm in this new world. I'm doing what I always did though. I'm out meeting with clients. Some come to the office, and every one of them came to the office and says, do other people work in here? And so I got tired of that question. So my wife and I bought some desks at Office Depot. I'm not a great handyman. I'm actually terrible at it. My ex-wife will tell you I am not a handyman. She's much better at it than I am. She comes to the office and sits in the floor with all these boxes of desk parts and builds 5 desks in the bullpen area of the office. And I'm thinking, okay, now we got these desks. It's pretty obvious that no one works here because they're all empty. There's nothing on them. And so I literally, this is what I did. And sometimes you need to do this. You need to play games with yourself just to kind of get you in that convinced mode. I literally put my papers across all 5 desks. So when anybody came in, it felt like there's other people working here. And I remember the first guy I brought into the business. This was a recruiting opportunity where I could recruit other financial advisors. I brought Scott Liberty in. He was the very first guy that I brought into the business. And he took one of those desks and I cleared my papers off. He says, I'm not taking somebody's spot, am I? And I said, oh, no. You use this one, I'll move him somewhere. I didn't even let Scott know that there weren't other people there. It was just mentally, I wanted to project a larger environment than existed. And I think this is part of the secret, right? So Scott Childress comes over to see my new office. He's recruited me. He wants to see what I'm up to. He says, oh man, you got all these people already? I said, no, not really. I tell him, not really. I'm just kind of projecting that I'm going to have all these people. And he said, let's go get them. And so he encouraged me to go recruit more people. And I really had no experience in that. But the opportunity at World Marketing Alliance allowed me to hire more people. And basically, I'm running my business. And so I end up hiring 3 or 4 more people. They fill these desks, and I kind of think I'm full, right? Psychologically, I think I'm full. Scott brings me this poster. And almost like an office warming gift when somebody opens a new office, he brings me a gift and it's a poster. And I unfurl the poster, and I'll never forget this, okay? A lot of guys have posters of women in bikinis on their wall, or have posters of NASCAR, or they have posters of maybe a yacht or something like this. This was a poster of the guy that founded World Marketing Alliance. It was Hubert Humphrey on this poster. It was big. It was a large poster. I put it at the end of my hallway, and it kind of like, it would be like a full-length mirror. I mean, it was that big. And then it had this quote at the top of it. And this is, don't miss this. The quote said, and this began to really affect my mindset. The quote said, it takes leaders with vision to help people with dreams. And I thought, it's almost like when I read it, I thought, am I a leader with vision? Like I was examining myself. Am I a leader with vision? Because I do want to help people that have dreams. I do want to help people that have ambition. Am I that kind of leader? Can I lead them? Well, in a real weird way, and maybe it's not weird at all. Maybe this is part of becoming certain. Every day, at the end of the day, I walked down that hallway, looked at that poster, and it felt like this guy and I know each other. I've never met Hubert Humphrey at this point. But I'm looking at this poster, I'm making eye contact with this guy, I'm reading that quote every day, almost programming myself. And I felt like he and I were bonded. It sounds strange. This is part of a certain mind. I felt like he and I were bonded over this idea of being a leader with vision to help people with dreams. And so I began using what they call the format system, a system of recruiting and a system of taking care of clients. It was a procedure for how to do it. And I started to set aside my way of doing things. I started to set aside my young 24-year-old mind who thinks it knows everything. I started becoming more coachable. Even though it wasn't a person coaching me, it was this idea of this relationship with this guy named Hubert Humphrey. It was this quote that was fixed in my head. And then there was this manual called the Business Format System. And I began to apply it. Scott had handed me this too. This was like a gift of a lifetime. It was like a treasure. It was very thick. I remember unwrapping the plastic off of it and beginning to read it. It was like a foreign language about how to scale my business from 5 people to maybe 5,000 people. Now, this was hard for me to imagine, but I wanted it. I wanted to do it. I wanted to be that significant. And so after several months, I've already made another $300,000 in this business. And it's interesting. I left my career with an insurance company and I'd made $300,000. I've now spent almost a year at this new company with this magnificent opportunity. And wouldn't you know it, I've made $300,000 again. So nothing's changed. Nothing. It's the same guy using the same toolbox no matter where he goes. And so the lesson for me at this moment was you're simply taking your tools wherever you go. You're actually not coachable. You're actually not taking this format system and applying it. You have to surrender your ideas and begin to take on the ideas of bigger thinking. And so this relationship that I really have made up in my mind with Hubert Humphrey, I realized I needed to become more convinced. I needed to become more certain. So I asked Scott Childress to set an appointment with me in Atlanta, Georgia, to meet Hubert Humphrey. At this time, there's probably 40,000 agents in this company. It's enormous. I'm a non-player at this stage. And in my mind, though, I consider myself significant, but it's totally in my mind. In this opportunity, I'm still a very small fish who's probably not even known by Hubert Humphrey. Even though I've got this odd relationship in the hallway with this poster, it takes leaders with vision to help people with dreams. He sets this appointment for me in Atlanta. I fly back from Las Vegas to Atlanta, Georgia. I get my rental car. I head out to the restaurant that his secretary, Judy Fox, has set an appointment for me to have breakfast with Hubert Humphrey, just he and I alone, which I considered a great privilege. This guy's 25, 30 years older than me. He's in the business that I want to be in. He's been there, done that. He's a legacy. He's a legend in this business, and I've got a shot at a one-on-one conversation with him. And I'm prepared. I'm dressed properly. I've got my mind right. And again, I feel like I know this guy, right, before. So I get there a little early. I'm always on time, if not early. And so I get there about 15 minutes early and kind of sit there in front of the Magnolia Cafe in Alpharetta, Georgia. And I wait for him to arrive. He arrives 5 minutes before the top of the hour. It's like 8 o'clock in the morning. He pops out of his car, so I pop out of my car. And I timed it where we could kind of run into each other right there. And I don't even know if he would recognize me. So I feel like I know him from the poster. I'd probably need to extend my hand and tell him who I am. But he did recognize me. Somehow we have our profile pictures back at the company. And so he had done a little research before the breakfast, so he knew who he was meeting with. And I said, "It's a pleasure to meet you." And he said, "Oh, James, so nice to meet you. It's great of you to fly out here to have this meeting. And it's my honor." And so we go in. He says, "What do you want for breakfast?" And I remember, I don't really want breakfast. You know, I may eat breakfast if he's going to eat breakfast. But in my mind, I'm there to make a connection with this guy that I want to be my mentor. I want to align myself with his way of thinking. And I'm telling you, as a young man in my 20s, I knew I needed to be coached by someone I respected, someone worthy of my following, and someone who I knew the way. These were the ingredients in my mind that had to be in place, and he had them all. And so before the waitress had come over to the table, I said, "Mr. Humphrey, I just want you to know something. I'm the kind of guy that will do exactly what you ask me to do. I will do whatever it takes to succeed. Matter of fact, I need you to know before we have this breakfast that I'm the kind of guy that will move at the speed of instruction. That's who I am. And I just need you to know that for no other reason than for me. I need to know that there's another person on the planet capable of guiding me that understands my commitment." He said, "Okay, now, you're saying some big stuff here." This is what he told me at this breakfast. He said, "You're saying some big stuff here. What I want you to do is write down on a napkin. we don't have anything there really to write with other than I've got my notepad and I'm going to take notes if he starts talking. He says, I want you to write on this napkin. It's got the Magnolia logo on it. He says, write down on this napkin what you just said to me. Because I can tell you, James, having recruited 800,000 people at this stage, and this is from his previous company into this new company, he said, I don't think I've ever had anybody say this to me. He said, a lot of people talk. He says, but very few seem as resolved or as certain as you seem right now. And I have every reason in the world to believe you, but time will tell us what this all means. He said, so I want you to write it down. I don't want to forget what you're telling me. Write down, I will move at the speed of instruction, and write down on this napkin, I will do whatever it takes. I want you to sign your name to it, like a signature. I'm going to sign my name to it, and then I'm keeping the napkin. And so this happened, okay? Hubert Humphrey takes the napkin, puts it in his, he's wearing a blazer. He puts it in his inside blazer pocket, and he says, now let's have breakfast. He goes, tell me about yourself. And we get into all this stuff. But I want you to know that breakfast developed in my mind a relationship that to this day exists. Hubert Humphrey's in his 80s today. He's gone on and we together grew that company and sold it to a publicly traded organization called Aegon. Today it's called World Financial Group. I was there the day we named it World Financial Group. I was on the executive board when we named it. Hubert Humphrey and I developed a relationship that changed my mind. It changed the way I thought about the world. It literally made me certain. And I don't know that certainty was possible without this mentor relationship. I don't think it was possible without me going through this activity of the poster. And I told him about the poster. He said, you know, that sounds weird, right? I said, I know it's weird. I said, but in my mind, it matters. It tightens my focus. He said, man, he said, there may be other people doing that. He goes, but I don't know about it. He said, it's pretty strong stuff. We went on and we moved me. This is all that matters in this relationship. We moved me from $200,000-$300,000 a year to several $1 million a year. And then when he sold that business, I went off on my own and built another multi-million-dollar business where I made millions a year until we sold that company. So if you're thinking it's luck, if you think it's the opportunity was the same. When my wife built those desks in that office, the opportunity was identical to the one after the breakfast. I just wasn't ready. It was my mind that needed to be prepared. I needed to do what it takes. And I'm just telling you, if you're wondering why success is eluding you, if you're wondering why you can't shift it to the next level, you got to go to the mirror. It's in your mind. You lack certainty. You lack focus. I don't even know that the poster would have ever been on my wall. It could have been something that laid in the corner in its canister that it came in had I not been seeking certainty. I knew I was not I had made $300,000 in a previous opportunity. I moved over here, I made $300,000. So clearly I was personally capable of $300,000 without outside influence. But until I created this bond, this covenant with a guy capable, the world didn't change for me. And so I give total credit, number one, to me shifting my mind and preparing myself to do whatever it takes to move at the speed of his instruction. And boy, he gave instruction. We had a lot of battles. We ended up playing lots of golf together. We traveled the world on his jet. We grew the company together. There was a lot of other great helpers there that were significant in my development, but he was the key. He was the king of that opportunity, and I followed him with exactness, and it changed my life. I wanted to share that with you. If you're wondering if it's shifting the opportunity that takes you to the next level, it could be. It could be. I happen to have been an opportunity my whole life that pays a lot of money. The financial services business pays fortunes. It's just, is your mind ready to receive it? Are you a good steward of resources? Have you prepared your mind to attract resources? If so, they will come. If they're not coming, you must go to the mirror and fix the flaws. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. I think it's significant. It is the great shift in my mind. It is the meeting that triggered me to have a different kind of life. And so, anyway, thanks for listening. I'm James Catledge. I'm your host. This is Inside Out.